Welcome to the Utah Board of Water Resources Board meeting today, August 15th, 1:02 p.m. Brief introduction of the board members. I'm Mike Davis. I'm the vice chair, acting chair today over the Provo River Drainage.
I'm Charles Holmgren. I represent the Bear River Basin.
Kyle Stevens, representing Weber River District.
Blaine Ibsen, Sevier River.
Dana Van Horn, Upper Colorado.
Brian Steed, Great Salt Lake.
Randy Crozier, Green River District.
And Spencer?
And Spencer Jones, representing the Lower Colorado River Basin.
Thank you.
And then for water resources with us today, we have Joel Williams, Shalane DiBernardi, Marisa Egbert, Ani Baynard, Ben Marett, Ethan Stayner, Brad Caldwell, Jessica Chung, Craig Miller, Layla Mahdi, Eric Dixon, Michael Sanchez, Randy Staker, Shannon Clowes doing our minutes. Thank you, Shannon. We have Carmen McDonald and Seth Majors taking care of all of our AV. And did I miss anyone? Yep, I do. Good deal. Okay, I think we got everyone.
Okay, thank you. And I did want to excuse Juliet Tenart. It's not with us today. So, first item on the agenda is approval of the board minutes. Assume we've all had a chance to look them over. Any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of June 20th, 2024 as presented.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, let's move into the feasibility reports. We have Brad, if you'd come up present, please, for the Heber City RL 598.
It's RL 593.
Oh.
Oh.
It says 8 on my
Yeah.
on the agenda, and it's 3 on the paper.
Okay, and do we have is Kyle online?
Yep, I'm online.
Okay, perfect, awesome. He'll be representing Heber City today, and I'll give a quick summary here. In 2021, Heber City initiated an infrastructure project to replace the 70-year-old water and sewer system in the downtown area and install a new pressurized system. The project is currently in phase 1 and is expected to exceed its budget by $10.8 million due to inflation. The city is seeking funding assistance of approximately $3.6 million, specifically for just the water portion of the project. And so to go through, I have a few. The orange area is the remaining project that needs to be finished and what the funding will go to. Here is a photo of them putting the main pipeline in. There's the main pipeline again. And here is a crew working on the lateral to the connection to one of the homes. And so the staff recommends the board authorize 85% of the project cost up to $3,032,000 and that the bonded indebtedness be returned at 0% interest over 25 years with annual payments of approximately $127,000, and that is including reserves. That is staff's report.
Does the applicant wish to add anything to the presentation?
No, I don't believe so. I think I covered all of it. Yeah, we just had due to inflation during COVID and the supply chain issues just kind of drove our project costs up higher than anticipated than what our original funding package had had funds for. And so we're just trying to seek out some additional funding to complete the project in its original scope.
Great, thank you. Is there any questions from the board then? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board authorize 85% of the project cost up to $3,032,000 and that the bonded indebtedness be returned at 0% interest over 25 years with annual payments of approximately $127,000, including reserves.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Dana, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Okay, moving down, we move into committal of funds. RC 068, Twin Creek Special Service District, Lindsay Reservoir.
Good afternoon, board members.
Max, do we have Max Covey, you online?
I am. I'm here.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Ethan.
Yeah. All right. So for Twin Creeks Special Service District, in relation to Bennett Lindsay Dam or Lindsay Dam. All right. So this will be a dam safety grant. Total project costs $610,000, and Twin Creeks provides drinking water and secondary water to areas east of Heber City. This project is located about 9 miles east of Heber City. Lindsay Dam was constructed in 1902. It's approximately 32 feet high, 210 feet long, and has a storage capacity of approximately 179 acre feet. And it has been rated high hazard by the Dam Safety Office at the Division of Water Rights. In the fall of last year, a camera inspection was completed of the outlet conduit, which indicated integrity issues with the outlet that need urgent repair. The Office of Dam Safety agreed to allow the district to store water during the winter to use this year, and then as long as the district agrees to fix it. And so there's 3 kind of sections now that have been added to over the years. One of them is they're all 10-inch. One of them is a concrete pipe with extensive cracking and deformed oval shape, which is of maybe greatest concern. And then there's some box structure and some CMP. And so the proposed project includes replacing that by excavating 4,000 cubic yards and then replacing it with a 24-inch concrete encased HDPE pipe. A new sluice control gate will also be installed, as well as an outlet structure with a trash rack. It's my understanding that final design is completed and construction anticipated to take place at the end of this month. And so the staff recommends the board commit 80% of the project cost up to $488,000 as a dam safety grant. And that is staff's report.
Thank you, Ethan. Does the applicant wish to add anything to the presentation?
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I would like to jump in and just express my appreciation to Dam Safety and Egbert and Matt and his group and Ethan and Tom for helping me push this through. And this is of great importance, as mentioned earlier, that this is the culinary and secondary supply for a lot of our customers in this area. So getting this repaired this season to be able to store water this winter for next year's use is very critical. So Other than that, I just appreciate your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Okay, Max, I do have a question. So this is a grant. You'll be required to provide 20%. How are you providing that? Is that through reserves, rates, participants? How is that done?
Yeah, that's going to come from our reserve repair and replacement fund that we have. Roughly about 122,000 is what we're anticipating, but we do have that budgeted and are available for use on this project.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no more questions, I'm looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion. And that is that the board commit 80% of the project cost up to $488,000 as a dam safety grant.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Spencer, did you vote?
Yes, aye.
Okay, thank you. I apologize, I didn't hear you. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ethan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Max. Okay. Next item we have on the agenda is RE 474, Davis and Weber County's Canal Company, Davis County. Ani is going to present.
Good afternoon.
And Scott Paxton, is you online? No, he's right here. He's in the flesh. Thank you for being here.
So this project was authorized December of 2023, and it is located in the Riverdale and Layton area in Davis County. The purpose of the project is to enclose approximately 980 feet of canal with a box culvert and replace about 1,420 feet of old aluminized steel pipe with reinforced concrete pipe. It is anticipated that construction will start after the irrigation season ends in October. Staff recommends the board commit 52.9% of the project cost up to $2,380,000 and that the project be purchased at 2.1% interest over 30 years with annual payments of approximately $107,800. That is staff's report.
Thank you. Scott, do you have anything to add to the presentation?
I'm not sure what to add other than
positive things generally
yes,
help.
Totally. We really appreciate the board and the divisions of water resources helping on, I don't know how many projects it's been with Davis and Weber County's Canal, but it's been dozens, right, at least. And I know you've held the water rights for the company for probably several decades because of our many loans that we've gotten from the division. So we just appreciate the ongoing support. This is just another great project in a series of projects that we still have to do to improve the canal, which is really the lifeblood of the company. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the board? Kyle?
Not a question, Mr. Chairman, but just a comment. It's good to see Scott here today. We generally see Rick, I think.
Right.
But
at a wedding going.
But he's at a wedding, a family wedding, I believe, today. So he has a legitimate excuse for not being here. But yeah, this is just another part of your ongoing capital improvements project list that you're working on.
Yes. Yep. Definitely it is. Thank you.
Okay. If there are no further questions, I'm looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, again, Kyle Stevens, I'll make that motion. And that is that the board commit 52.9% of the project cost up to $2,380,000 and that the project be purchased at 2.1% interest over 30 years with annual payments of approximately $107,800.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a second by Charles. All those in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Okay. Next on the agenda, RE 476, King Irrigation Company, Cache County. Ethan. And do we have a representative from King Irrigation Company online?
Yes, I'm Lynn Eckley, president of King Irrigation.
Very good. Welcome to the meeting.
Jason Hardman here, Sunrise Engineering, helping out. So,
Okay, proceed. Go ahead and proceed.
All right. King Irrigation Company. This one's coming from the revolving construction fund. The project total is over $3 million, but they're coming to us for $960,000. So there's the project map that we showed at authorization. This was authorized in the May board meeting, and so the proposed pipeline is kind of in the red dashed line there, and the service area is purple. And then if you look real close, the gray kind of ladder looking line is existing canals that are being replaced, put out of commission. And so that's the project, is kind of replacing old canal, kind of inefficient unlined canal and making it a pressurized system. They're also replacing 2 pump houses with 1 pump house that'll have 3 variable speed pumps in it. They opened bids. In the briefing meeting I said Tuesday, it was actually this morning that they opened bids, and so they're looking for a contractor and hoping to get started as soon as they can. And so the cost sharing, as I said, they're looking for $960,000 from the board. That would be 28.4% of the total project cost. The board previously authorized 28.4% of the project up to $960,000 to be purchased at 0% interest over approximately 18 years. But then we, at the board's request, at the board and staff request, Zions completed a second economic analysis for the project, which included some things that hadn't been previously considered, like variable crop prices and expected production cost increases. And so based on that analysis, they came up with a benefit cost ratio of 1.72 for the project. And this is a mouthful, but the estimated annual net increased crop income of $367,000. And from that, we, just figuring in some of their other costs, we figured a net annual benefit of $86,500, and that times the board cost share put them at a payment that would be take too long to repay based on this fund. So we gave them the maximum amount of years we could at 25 years. And so I'll go into, so there's the cost sharing with the $1 million Water Smart grant and the $1.25 million UDF grant, and then the board cost share and the applicant 5% share. And so that leads me to the staff recommendation. The staff recommends that the board commit 28.4% of the project cost up to $960,000, and that the project be purchased at 0% interest over 25 years with annual payments of approximately $38,400. And that is staff's report.
Thank you, Ethan. Does the applicant want to add anything to the presentation?
I think that sounds good.
Very good. Are there any questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, a question. Could you bring the a picture of the map back up?
Yeah, here.
It looks like the existing pump stations were just on the outside edges of the service area. There's one here, and one one here, but a new one. So will the existing pump stations be replaced with the new pump station, or will the other ones that are still there still be used?
Yes, those pump stations will be completely demoed and replaced with the new upgraded pump station.
Okay, and then the second question is, it looked like some of the new pipe alignment was going down through existing property area. Are there any issues with right-of-way in constructing a pipe through that area?
We don't anticipate any issues. We've coordinated with everyone, and we're working. All the property owners are the farmers who will actually benefit from this project, and so they're all very excited for this project.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, consultation with Ethan Stayner and Marisa Egbert just a little while ago, they indicated to me that bids had come in lower than were anticipated, and we had some discussion about changing the motion as written in the board briefing book. And what we decided is I will read the motion as stated, and then at when the project is completed, we can adjust the amounts down, not up, but down. And if the project participants want to do other work, at least what we've done in the past is if there are additional funds at the end, then you might want to adjust some of your project within the upper limits of that amount of money. But for today, I will read the motion when it's appropriate to not reflect these lower bids that you received today, but what the board book describes.
Very good. Then we're looking for a motion.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I will make the motion that the board commit 28.4% of the project cost up to $960,000, and that the project be purchased at 0% interest over 25 years with annual payments of approximately $38,400.
Thank you for your motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Kyle. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you, applicants. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on in the agenda, we'll go to RM 074, Lehi City, Utah County.
Okay,
And
so
we have you here, and also Dean Lundell is here. You want to come up? Thank you, Dean, for being here. Go ahead.
Okay, so this project was authorized December of 2023 and then reauthorized in March of 2024. It's located in Lehi City in Utah County. And the purpose of the project is to purchase and install approximately 5,700 additional secondary meters. The board previously committed the ARPA and the small system meter grant portions of the project funding. All the board funding that the applicant has received thus far will still not be enough to meet all their secondary conditions. The staff recommends the board commit 25.5% of the project cost up to $3,643,000, and the bonded indebtedness be returned at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $283,000, including reserves. That is staff's report.
Thank you. Does the applicant want to add anything to the presentation?
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add other than we're working hard to get this money spent and get these meters installed. We're a little ahead of schedule. But it's a lot. It's been a lot of meters. This is one portion, you know, this is the 5,000 numbers, just one part of it. We have about 14,000 to do. So, but the progress is going well. We're spending money and putting in meters, and I really appreciate the board's help, and it's been great to work with.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Seeing none, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion. My motion is that the board commit 25.5% of the project cost up to $3,643,000, and that the bonded indebtedness be returned at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $283,000, which includes reserves.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, RM093, Bloomington Water Company, Washington County. Ben, if you would present. And do we have anybody online?
No.
No. Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the board. The Bloomington Water Company has received an ARPA grant for the installation of 370 secondary water meters in and around St. George. They previously received authorization and committal for the grant portion of their project, and for the loan portion of their project, they have met all the requirements set forth, and their project is ready for committal. Staff recommends that the board commit 25.5% of the project cost up to $365,000, and that the project be purchased at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $26,400. And that's staff's report.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Seeing none, we'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, Spencer Jones would like to make a motion that the board commit 25.5% of the project cost up to $365,000, and that the project be purchased at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $26,400.
Thank you for the motion. A second by Randy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all. Thank you, Ben. Now we will move into special items. Ben can stay here. RM 100, Saratoga Springs City, change of scope, and we have Owen Jackson and Mark Atencio. Apologize. Thank you for being here. Okay, Ben, go ahead.
All right. The city of Saratoga Springs came before the board in June 2023, and at that time they received authorization and committal of funds for a project to install some pipeline and to do some landscape conversion from turf grass to waterwise landscaping. They've been pursuing that project since then. However, the project became impossible due to issues with obtaining the necessary rights-of-way. And they are coming before the board today to propose an adjusted scope to their project. They would like to include the landscape conversion. That's still going to be a component of the project. They would like to convert up to 1.7 acres of turf grass, which would conserve up to approximately 2.6 acre feet of water, and that piece of the project would cost approximately $949,000. The second component of the project includes installation of smart irrigation controllers going into city parks. They have proposed proposed 25 to 30 smart irrigation controllers to be installed. They expect to conserve approximately 9 acre feet of water with those controllers at an estimated cost of approximately $225,000. And the third component of their project includes replacing these geotextile liners with concrete These are located in a couple of city ponds, and they are in a state of failure and need to be replaced. But because of the scheduling of the funding and the project, there has not been a percolation study done, so there's no estimate on water conservation here. However, as you can see, there is holes in the liner and water conservation is expected. It's also worth mentioning that there are a number of houses that are located downslope of the ponds, which they are at some level of risk by having water leaking through the liner. So this piece of the project is expected to cost approximately $1.3 million. And a couple more photos for your viewing pleasure, which I think we've already seen once today. This project is slated to receive about $2 million, which is a separate portion of the ARPA funding, which is 4 systems that were fully metered previous to May 4th, 2022. The total expected project cost is $2,626,000. Staff recommends that the board approve the change in project scope and allow the $2 million water conservation grant to be used for the new projects as requested by the applicant. And that is staff's report.
Thank you, Ben. Does the applicant want to add anything to the presentation?
Just appreciate the board considering this matter and helping us do some water conservation additionally in our city. So it'll be nice to get some of these ponds fixed and stop the seepage from happening. So as well as the landscaping and set a good example for our residents as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for the applicant or from Ben? Kyle?
I'll ask a couple there. Ben, from some of the earlier pictures you showed us of the pond liners, that they were deteriorating. How long have those been in, and what was the life expectancy on those?
They've been installed for 15 to 20 years. The life expectancy is 20 years. And these two are the first ponds constructed in the city. We no longer use this method. We found that they capture a lot of thermal energy, which leads to the growth of algae and water quality problems in our system. So there will be a number of benefits by replacing these. The worst areas are where we catch the most sun. Where the water is on the ponds, the liner is in better shape.
So those areas along the edges where the picture shows, at least
Yep.
we have it in front of us, then that's probably due to weathering.
Yes,
sun
that section there
exposure.
doesn't see water. It catches the sun. It's facing west.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board approve the change in project scope and allow the $2 million water conservation grant to be used for the new projects as requested by the applicant.
Thank you. We have a motion. Brian is a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming to the meeting. Appreciate having you here. Thank you, Ben. Okay, next in line we have some withdrawals. Is Marisa going to do this? Who's going to present these?
I don't think.
We've already been over these, so we know them. Do we have a motion to withdraw RL 587 Millville City and RM 099 Ashley Central Irrigation Company?
Mr. Chairman, I will move on RL 587 that the project be withdrawn from further consideration by the board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I will also make a motion on RM 099 that the project be withdrawn from further consideration by the board.
We have a motion by Charles, a second by Randy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda, new applications. This was informational. We'll be looking at RE 486 Sterling Irrigation Company and RE 488 North Creek Irrigation Company, Mountain Pleasant Incorporated, Sanpete County, both located in Sanpete County, and those will be looked at potentially at the next board meeting in October. We can do that right now. When we approved the minutes, when Dana approved the minutes, we neglected to mention that we also had the special meeting minutes of June 28th. And we need a motion to approve those minutes as well.
I'll make that motion too.
Thank you, Dana. Is there a second? Brian, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That motion passes.
Chairman, I think at the start of the meeting also, we didn't mention if there was any public comments. And so that probably needs to be taken care of.
Give Randy his last hurrah.
Randy, do you have any public comments for us? Not today, but next meeting. Anyone else with public comments for us? Thank you.
And then Teresa is not here quite yet, so maybe we could go have Layla Mahdi.
Okay, we're gonna go to Lehi Mahdi, water budget in the Great Salt Lake Basin. If you could come forward for a presentation, please. We'll catch the water rights dam safety overview in a few minutes.
Is that on? Hi, good afternoon. So I'm Layla Ahmadi. I'm with the Hydrology and Modeling section at the division, and I'm here to talk to you about the Great Salt Lake water budget today. So here we have a graph of the fluctuations of the water level in the Great Salt Lake. The blue line is the south arm elevations, and the red line is the north arm elevations, and you see that we're at a very much better shape than we were in 2022. Well, we have a terminal lake and in a closed basin, so the fluctuations of the water surface elevation is basically related to two things: the water that comes into the lake and the water that goes out. The water that goes out is mostly evaporation. And the other part of it is some diversions for the mineral extraction. So since 1980s, we've seen a declining trend of the water surface elevations. And that is due to a combination of different factors, such as lower runoff efficiencies, warming temperatures, prolonged dry periods, and upstream diversions. All of these affect all these fluctuations of water surface that you see here. And so in 2022, the lake situation, it was very critical situation. We had the lowest water surface elevation in that year. And when we talk about lower water surface elevation, it means the highest salinity that we had in the south arm. And that both of those factors are factors that affect the lake, the ecology of the lake, the air quality, the industries around the lake all have very much negative impacts. So if you look, this is a graph that was made in 2013 by Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands, and it shows elevation matrix of the lake. And it shows that the green area is the healthy levels of the lake, which is around 4198 to 4205. And the dangerous elevation is the 4192 and below that. When the water surface elevation gets below that, then we are in trouble. And the brine trim industry, the mineral companies, a lot of things, air quality, a lot of issues rise up. And so that is Okay, so now we want to look at it at a bigger scale. So if we think about this in this basin, in the Great Salt Lake Basin, the water that comes into the basin and is used by the users, both agriculture and municipal, and the lake, we all have the same water resource, and it starts up in the mountains. When the snowpacks melt and it goes into the groundwater and the rivers and it gets to the basin, it gets used by the water right holders, different users, and then whatever is left, it gets to the lake. And so we're all on this together. So, and then some of it is also saved in the reservoirs. This is this is a map of the area we're talking about, the Great Salt Lake Basin. Of course, you can see all the sub-basins in there. And so here, we want to mention the major inflows to the lake. There are three big rivers that go into the lake: Bear River, Weber River, Jordan River, which Bear River is around 41%, Jordan River around 14%, and Weber 9%. And then the other biggest inflow to the lake is the direct precipitation, which is around 32%. And then there are some groundwater flow that flow into the river, into the lake, around 3% is that too. But we have a lot of uncertainties about the groundwater that goes to the lake. The information that we've been using is from the studies during 70s, but right now there are a lot of studies being done by USGS and UGS to make sure they understand that better. And then there are also some smaller tributaries and wastewater treatment plants that go to the lake. So these are all the inflows. The problem is that the inflows that go to the lake, if you look at these three graphs from 1900s to current, they were also reported by the strike team. It shows a decline through the years. And so, which again, we talked about it, it's because of human diversions and also because of the trends of the climate and climate factors. So along the years, since beginning of 1990s, we've had this water budget model that was developed by Division of Water Resources in order to better understand the water balance in the state. And we've been improving this model along the years. So this is a model that is on an annual basis. It considers estimates different water balance components such as evapotranspiration, consumptive use, diversions, depletions, return flows for different users. And it does it based on getting an extensive amount of input data from all different sources, such as Division of Water Rights, USGS, USBR, and all other places that there are water available for the state. The extent of the model, as you see in this map, it covers the whole state as well as the Bear River Basin. And the way it does it, it divides the state into 152 sub-areas, and it has a specific procedure and code for each sub-basin because each sub-basin is different. And then it does the calculations simply. So this is the table that shows the water budget in the Great Salt Lake Basin. So if you look at this, there is the green area, the yield, which shows basically kind of the supply in those areas. And then we have all different kinds of depletions, and based on that, the outflow to the lake. And the things that I want you to pay attention into this graph is that we have the average volumetric change of the lake in 1989 to 2022 is negative, and it's around minus 468,000. There are variabilities of storage change in the lake along the years, but as an average, it's a deficit of minus 468,000. On average, the evaporation is estimated to be around 2.2 million acre-feet from the Great Salt Lake itself, and that's a big number. If you look in the all different numbers and the depletions that we see in this in the basin, 2 million is a big number. Around 1.48 million is depleted by agricultural section. Around 494,000 is depleted by M&I sector, and 26% of that is extractions that is done by the mineral extraction companies. And then what else? So basically, we need to consider the yield, the supply. If the supply stays the same and we have more depletions, of course, the outflow to the lake will be less. And so this is another way of looking at this. This was also reported by the strike team with the results from the water budget model. And you can see here that there is variability in the depletions in the basin. If you look at this in different sub-basins, then there might be more variability, but as a whole, in total, the total amount of depletions along the years from 1980s to current kind of stay relatively constant, even though like we have a little bit increase in municipal and industrial use, but still it relatively stay constant. So I made this also a pie chart so you can see kind of how this works. If we cannot consider Utah Lake and Bear Lake, there is around 66% depletions by agricultural section. And that it's the biggest user. But that is not considering those two lakes and not considering the evaporation from the Great Salt Lake, which is by itself a huge number. And then there is around 24% used by the M&I sector. 941,000 acres of agricultural area, and most of it is in Bear River area, of course. So we know that there are a lot of different challenges we have, and no one solution can fix this. We are all on this together. It's a big basin. It has a lot of different users, and one of it is the Great Salt Lake. And it can be done only by collaboration, continued innovations, and with all the stakeholders involved. Already, there's been a lot of significant steps, research and work that has been done during current years, and it's ongoing. I just mentioned 3 of these here. One of it is the Great Salt Lake Strategic Plan developed by the Great Salt Lake Commissioner's Office to provide a coordinated path forward for the Great Salt Lake. And then there is the Great Salt Lake Basin Integrated Plan that you've heard before from our team here at the Division of Water Resources. We are working on this currently. It's significant modeling work with collaboration with different federal and state agencies and other stakeholders, and it's supposed to help us to improve the models we have, because the models are only good if we have great data, great input data to it. If not, it's not that accurate. And we know there are gaps in our understanding and in the models that we have. And the only way to fill those gaps and make it better and make us understand this system better is through this modeling effort that we're doing. And we're in contact with so many different groups, as I mentioned. And then there is the strike team work, which provides timely, relevant, and high quality data and research that helps decision makers. And it's a group of research universities like Utah State University, University of Utah, sorry, I'm from Utah State University, so I remember that first. and then the DNR, Division of Water Quality, and different groups all together to provide that. And this is just some of it. There is a lot of effort being done on this. So hopefully soon we'll have a much even better understanding of Great Salt Lake and the basin. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That's a great presentation. Are there any questions for Leila? Go ahead.
One of the questions that, and I don't know if you've defined it, but the watershed health has got to have an impact on the amount of runoff that's coming off from the watershed itself. Have you been able to look at the changes that have taken place there as far as yield decrease out of these different pockets?
So You mean the major rivers that come into the the
main
lake?
watershed.
So there is these sorry. This one. Oh boy. Sorry. This one. That shows the 3 major rivers, and it already shows that all the use, the runoff that comes, it's decreasing from 1900s to now. The trend.
And that's my point, is because of the lack of watershed management.
Oh, I see.
Forests being managed, the other lands, the lack of management on it is impacting the flows that's coming off of all our river basins, all of these sub-basins. And so I guess what I'm asking is, as you go on through this, I'd like to see if you could produce a number that shows what the decrease in those yields from these different sub-basins is due to the lack of watershed management.
I see. Yeah, as you say, it's a very complex system. It has so many components to it that and we lack the understanding of some of these and how it impacts to the whole system. And hopefully in the next few years we're gonna have much better understanding of what happens and why. And so yeah, I appreciate your input on this. Yes.
Can I ask a question on your managed wetlands? It seems like we're in different places. One of the graphs you presented, like shows the different uses. Shows managed wetlands overtaking municipal and industrial. I don't see that in your riparian description on that graph.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference there?
It is from the same data, but just keep in mind that this riparian or managed wetlands here, it's about the artificial riparian area that are impacted by agricultural area. And we know it has some flaws, specifically in that calculations, and we're currently changing the methodology on that. So, and it also underestimates the wetlands around the lake. It considers some of it, it doesn't consider some of it, so.
No, I appreciate that. I just was some of those things that I noticed that was.
No, of course, yeah, but yeah. Any other questions?
Any other questions from the board? Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Very good.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah. So that's what I appreciate here.
No, I agree.
Great. We can now look at the water rights dam safety overview, please. Glad to have you here today. Thank you.
I got my cue to come down. We were doing the Grace Lake gap analysis at the same time, so I got a text. And Egbert timed it very well. He said, get here at, 1:50? I think that was pretty spot on. Okay. So Egbert is going to hand out to the board. This is our Division of Water Rights Action Plan, and I wanted each of you to have a copy of it because it outlines the responsibilities of the Division of Water Rights, and one of those responsibilities that is in there is dam safety. And so I thought it might be helpful for you to see our work plan and then also have a good understanding of where dam safety fits within our agency. We have 6 statewide sections that work across the state, and one of those is dam safety and stream alterations. So wanted you to have that copy so that it can kind of help you see where it fits within our agency. As I mentioned, so for me, I guess I should introduce myself. Teresa Wilhelmsen, I'm State Engineer and Director of the Division of Water Rights. I know all of you. And then also here with me is Everett Taylor, and he is our Assistant State Engineer over our dam safety stream alteration sections. So I was just gonna give a little background on the State Engineer's responsibilities with dam safety. This first slide just shows kind of some historical background of failures that have occurred across the country with South Fork, St. Francis, and the Teton Dams. I know I'm one of those that's old enough to remember these, and so been around a little while. What's that? You never know. So so now we'll go to Quail Creek, and I was around at this time. And so Quail Creek, which failed in 1989, this is really where the state legislature stepped in and said, okay, we need to have a little bit better handle on dam safety across the state. And what that resulted in is the current code that you see that gives the state engineer the authority to regulate the safety of dams for protecting public safety. And also to protect life and property. And you'll next to that statement, that page comes from the state engineer's first biannual report from 1897. And you see that one of the primary responsibilities of the state engineer back in that day was dams, dam plans, dam plans. And overseeing irrigation surveys and others. But the state engineers have been doing dam work since 1897. I love saying that. Anyway, so with that, with the state engineer's authority, I'm gonna turn it over to Egbert to talk about the current program that we do today. So Egbert.
Thank you, Teresa. It's good to be with you, board members, and Candace, the director. So I just want to give you an overview of the state's dam safety program. As Teresa mentioned, we regulate dam safety in the state of Utah to protect downstream life and property. And so to accomplish that, we focus on these 4 areas. I want to talk about each of them briefly. So the first is design of dams. Utah Code 73-5A-201 requires that no person may construct, enlarge, repair, alter, remove, or abandon any dam without first obtaining approval from the state engineer. Whenever then a dam is to be constructed, or if an existing dam is going to be modified or repaired, the owner or their engineer needs to submit plans to our office for our review and for our approval. Typically, these documents will consist of any design reports that have been created, a set of design drawings, and technical specifications. We're given 90 days to review those and then issue comment back to the engineer or owner. Once those comments have been addressed to the satisfaction of the state engineer, we will then issue an approval for that project. Once they've received approval from our office and obtained any other necessary approvals, they can move to construction. And it's Utah Code 73-5A-301 instructs the state engineer's office to make periodic inspections of the work to ensure that it's in compliance with the approved drawings and specifications. So we perform routine construction inspections. We do those at least monthly for all ongoing construction projects. We do visit them more frequently if that's warranted. There are 3 formal inspections that are stated in our approvals. Those are a foundation inspection. Once the foundation has been cleared and prepared to receive fill, we inspect it to ensure that it's ready to receive fill. And then we inspect the outlet conduits prior to any concrete encasement and backfilling of those. And then we complete a final inspection when the construction of the project is completed. We also monitor the dams through the initial filling of the reservoir to make sure that they function as designed and that if there are any issues, those are addressed. All right, 73-5A-501 instructs the state engineer to inspect dams in the state. So every year our office inspects over 300 dams. During these inspections, we have an opportunity to meet with the owner and or the operator and walk the dam, operate gates, look at concrete, and review instrumentation data to assess the condition of the dam. Following these inspections, we then will issue a report to the owner that identifies necessary maintenance for them to complete prior to the next inspection. During these inspections, we also have the opportunity to ask the owner if they've reviewed their emergency action plans and then request any updates be made to those plans and copies of the revisions sent to interested parties. All right, this is really the part that you may be the most interested in as you make motions and decisions on these. So when the law was amended in 1991, the legislature recognized the need to rehabilitate existing dams and provided a grant program to help rehabilitate high hazard dams in the state. That's outlined in 73-5A-502. The state engineer was required then to evaluate existing high hazard dams and prioritize them for rehabilitation, which most of those evaluations were completed in the 1990s and early 2000s, and the state engineer's office created a prioritized listing of those dams. Sometimes dams are added, I just want to point out, to that list when their hazard increases from to a high hazard. That generally occurs when development encroaches onto the dam. So that list is not static, it continues to grow. In that same law, it does indicate that the state engineer cannot require an owner to rehabilitate their dam to bring it into compliance with minimum standards unless a grant to pay for at least 80% of the cost is made available through the Board of Water Resources. And then there's 73-10-8 is the code that gives Water Resources the direction to provide that grant. So while our office maintains the rehabilitation priority listing, we recognize that Water Resources administers the grant funding. And so our two offices cooperate to identify the priority projects and availability of funding to rehabilitate high hazard dams in the state. Currently, we have 17 existing dams in some phase of rehabilitation design or construction. Wanted to let you know what we evaluate those dams on as we pursue upgrading or rehabilitating them to meet minimum design standards. So these 5 areas are those that we use, and then ensure that the state's minimum design standards in those areas will be met when the project is complete. And I want to talk a little bit about funding. We recognize the benefit of the state-run grant program to rehabilitate high-hazard dams and appreciate our relationship with the Division of Water Resources, who administers those funds. In addition to the state-run grant program, in cooperation with the Division of Water Resources, we have applied for funding through the FEMA's High Hazard Potential Dam Grant program. We were allocated, as we completed part 1 of that application process, we were allocated $7.2 million, and we are currently working now to complete part 2 of the application process to secure that funding to help rehabilitate dams in the state. In addition to pursuing that FEMA grant fund, we work with the NRCS in a cooperative relationship through their PL 566 funding program, watershed program. That usually provides 65% of funds to rehabilitate a dam from the NRCS, and then the state and the owner contribute the remaining 35%. And that is broken usually on that 80-20 or 90-10 split. And that is the end of my presentation.
Any questions for? Go ahead, Dana.
So, how many dams are on the list that need to be fixed that there isn't money for? Like, we just had one today that's Twin Creeks for Lindsay.
Yeah,
Dam.
Lindsay Bennett.
And the date in here was 2023. Like, did Lindsay jump ahead of people who have less bad issues to get here, or was it literally from, like, they just started the process as soon as it was identified and they got here in a normal way, a normal time frame, or did they jump ahead, I guess is my question.
Yeah, so what happened with Lindsay Bennett is there was a gate issue, as they expressed earlier, and we allowed them to store water into this year and then required that gate to be fixed. As we seek to distribute these fundings and be efficient in that distribution, if we have a larger project that doesn't use all of the funding available and we have a smaller amount, we try to find a smaller project that could receive that funding, and that's the case of Lindsay Bennett. I believe it was a few $100,000, and so we had that and we're able to get those. The overall object is to get these rehabilitated as quickly as possible, pending availability of funds. You asked how many still need to be rehabilitated. So I mentioned we had 17 in some process, but overall, and if I may just look back at my notes, I want to give you the right number. There are 107 in some stage of rehabilitation or have been evaluated. And again, 17 of those are in design or construction.
And are they
so
all
90.
holding water now? Like, is anybody banned from holding water because it's that bad?
The only one that has a filling restriction currently is Jones Reservoir, and it's under construction.
Okay.
So it'll be rehabilitated. Penguich is under filling restriction based on what happened in April, with designs moving forward on that to address it.
Thank you.
So I guess two questions. One, how do we as a board help facilitate this work? I think it's really important, and there's a lot on the line. So that's question one. Question two, it seems like one of the biggest restrictions we all have is financial resources, and how do we best engage with policymakers on that front to make sure that we have the resources we need?
Do you want to answer that?
Did these work? Okay. No, I think those are great questions, Brian. We do kind of the technical reviews and identify those issues, but we also, every year as we inspect these, see those issues that are going on. And I think the concerted effort to try and obtain more funding for the minimum standards program, we're all ears, and I know Candace and I have had several conversations to work together to try and find those sources of funding that is needed, because we definitely need to address the issue. Did you want to add anything?
I'll just reiterate, we are looking for those funding sources through collaborative relationships, as I mentioned, with the NRCS, and then that FEMA grant is fairly new. It began in 2019. And so we applied in 2022 for those funds, and then again in 24. They did not do a grant award in 23.
If I might, Mr. Chair, yes, funding is a big limitation, and I would also say, and we've had some discussions on this, is kind of what is the goal from a policy standpoint with these dams. And when this grant funding was originally created, Egbert had a really great story on the Golden Gate Bridge, and I think that's really apt here, and maybe you can give that. But we have seeked, the Division of Water Resources has pretty much every year put in a building block for additional dam safety funds. This year will not be different. We're going to put in another building block, and I think the governor's office is probably tired of hearing us ask for dam safety money, but it's important, and so we keep asking for it.
If I may, Mr. Chair, it seems like one of those things that no one cares about until they do. Right. And if you have a catastrophic failure out, I mean, even Joe's Valley, right, for instance, that could have been really, really bad if there was a failure there, because it could have wiped out a lot of power generation, right? There's a lot of things that are scary, I think, that people oftentimes are overlooking, and that's my 2 cents worth. Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, just a comment, and I know that probably everyone's aware of it, but there's also your moderate hazard and low hazard. And those companies are going in and repairing those dams with no assistance. And so, so that you're aware, there's a lot more dam work that goes on than just the high hazard that qualifies for grant money. There's other reservoirs that are being rebuilt by the individual owners of those with no assistance. And they have to meet those regulations just like the others, only without any assistance. For example, Atwood was rebuilt by dry gulch irrigation at a cost of $1 million that they had to foot that completely on their own. And so I think it's important that the rest of the board and others are aware of those projects as well. And I just use that as an example.
And maybe, Mr. Chair. I can see your
I'm
eyes.
behind the screen there.
No, Randy has a great point there that there's a lot of dam activity that's going on that even the board doesn't see, where they have other funding, other sources. And, you know, there's when Egbert talks about the dams that we do inspect, it's low, moderate, and high. But the minimum standards just applies to the high standard. So there's a whole nother behind the curtain of dams that are out there.
Any other questions from the board? This has been very good presentation. Thank you so much for being here and keeping us up to date on that. We appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right, looks like Lake Powell pipeline update is next.
They closed everything down, so who knows where you can find them. No, just the agenda that has. I guess that was the packet sheet. Is it? Okay. I guess you can go to your packets and get the sheet that was about for Lake Powell Pipeline.
Yeah,
I thought they were all on there, sorry.
They're back here somewhere. We're gonna keep looking. Sorry.
I'll find it.
Is it in there? There you go.
Okay, it's not on an overhead, so if you've got your packets, you can look at that. I'm just going to briefly go through and give an update on Lake Powell Pipeline and the status of it. I know you guys have probably missed me. It's been a while since you've seen me giving this report. Not much has changed in this report, but there's some action that we need taken too, so that's what we're here about. Just in review, the Colorado River evaluation continues to go on with the basin states. You know, with the years of drought, that kind of brought everything to the surface of resolving issues and items and figuring out how much water all the states, you know, they're talking about that. And those discussions and actions are ongoing. So that's kind of what needs to be done before the Lake Powell Pipeline work can continue to move forward. And during the interim of that, the Washington County Water Conservancy District has put all their focus on conservation and reuse, and they've put tons of effort into this. I mean, they've got all the cities down there changing ordinances to reduce water use and limit lawns, and they've got lots of things going on to do conservation efforts. And then hundreds of millions of dollars are planned for their reuse system, which is covering their whole service area to reuse and get as much use of the water that is in the Virgin River drainage basin, just put it to maximum use. And that's what they've got going on right now to meet, because people keep moving there. People love the area and it continues to grow, and that's what they're having to do right now while the issues with the Colorado River are resolved. The Bureau of Reclamation, we got on there, you know, they're the ones in charge of the supplemental draft environmental impact statement. Right now, they're not doing much on that. I mean, basically, just they're waiting for the issues to be resolved with the river. So, but we do have the contract. We have to keep that contract in place for the project. the ethnographic study update, the tribe down there has asked us to continue looking at little minor tweaks of different routes to kind of avoid some of the cultural resource areas, and just kind of making sure that we're, for the routes that were selected and the preferred routes, will minimize the impacts to those types of things. And then just a review of the contracts that are in place. The Bureau of Reclamation task order, that is one that's in place, and it expires at the end of September of this year. So that's one of the items for this board meeting, is to request the authority to go towards work with them on getting an extension for that for another year. The Stantec contract is in place. The BLM and the like I said, the tribe, the Kaibab Band of Paiute Indians. So these contracts are all in place. Minimum until the river issues are resolved. You know, it's kind of limping along, but the minimizing the work, because we don't want to be spending money until the river issues are resolved. So as part of that, like I mentioned, the Bureau of Reclamation contract, the staff is recommending that the board amend the contract with the Bureau of Reclamation for one additional year until September 30th, 2025, to continue the work on the task order, and no additional funds will be provided for this amendment. And that's my presentation.
Thank you so much. And we did not discuss that we would need a motion on this earlier, but is there someone willing to make that motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to start off by telling Eric, really appreciate everything he's done on this. It's a massive project, and thanks for doing all the coordinating on this. I'd like to make a motion that the board amend the contract with the Bureau of Reclamation for one additional year until September 30, 2025, to continue the work in the task force. No additional funds would be provided for this amendment.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second to the motion, Master Chairman.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Eric. Okay, we're down to the really important person, our director, Candace.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an exciting time. It's August, so we're burning through this year. My daughter's going back to school next week, so she's super excited about that. But in addition to that excitement, we have it's a little bit of a bittersweet time. We get to say goodbye to some of our friends that have worked with us for a really long time. A couple are in this room. Randy Staker has worked for the division for 36 years. Is that right, Randy? And Russ Barris has worked for the division for 22 years, and they're both retiring today or tomorrow, depending on, so we're going to have their retirement party tomorrow, and yeah, like I said, it's a little bit bittersweet. We're super grateful for them and all of the work that they've done for many, many years, and excited that they get to go on to new adventures. So I just want to take a moment to talk about how great both of those are and how much we'll miss them, both Randy and Russ. And then Marty, my friend Marty at Bushman from the AG's office, has indicated that he's going to retire. He told me he was going to wait till December, but after 33 years, I guess it's he's feeling more anxious than other to get it done sooner. So he's not retiring till October, but still we're feeling the pressure there too. But really grateful for Marty as well. So just thanks again for all of your work. And we're excited that you get to go on and do cool things, and we'll miss seeing you on a regular basis. But don't be shy and stop by and say hi. Couple of other things. Next week is interim week, which means that there's often lots going on the Hill. We have been asked to give 2 presentations. One is on Watershed Council, so I'll be jointly giving that presentation with Scott Paxman, who's the chair of the State Watershed Council. And then the other one is on the dam safety program. So I'll be presenting with Teresa Wilhelmsen and myself on the program and funding, and particularly Panguitch Dam and some of the the concerns there and the needs there. You know, as of last year, they met minimum dam safety standards, and it wasn't necessarily a minimum dam safety issue. So it has not been on our list. So we're gonna talk with the legislators next week about how the dam safety program works and the funding available, and kind of talk through some of those policy considerations. In addition to that, we're also preparing our budget requests for the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget. And right now we have 2. I indicated one earlier is on dam safety and getting additional dam safety funds. And over, time the legislature has provided us one-time funding. Like even this last year, 25 million was provided as a one-time, but we really see the need for an increased ongoing fund. So that's what we're asking for. So we'll see how that goes. And the other one is on an additional conservation program to help new development get landscaping installed right. We're calling it Homes Elevated, and that's to help provide an incentive to developers to install not only water-wise landscaping, but also in the homes to install high efficiency devices as well. So we'll see how that goes, and I'll give you guys an update on that. As far as HB 280, which is our favorite bill from last year and all the work that it's provided us, we are currently in the throes of an existing fund study. We've been working with the Water Development Coordinating Council to compile the list of all of our funds from, whether it's the Board Water Resources Division or the Drinking Water Board, Water Quality Board, CIB, the Ag Optimization, and the UCC. So there's a lot of things that we're compiling there. We've also established another work group to help us develop the scope for the fee study. And this will be a really popular study and idea where people could potentially have to pay some sort of fee that would then be collected and used for water infrastructure projects. How would that be done? We don't know yet. That's part of the study, is what would that look like. But there are a lot of concerns about some sort of fee that's charged that then is rolled up to a statewide level. But we'll go through that process. Our actual next biggest thing with HB 280, I was thinking about this, Shalane, is in September, all of the relevant agencies that are identified in 280 have to provide pretty much a bookkeeping of funds. It's pretty much our status of funds to the Water Development Coordinating Council. So we will get to do that as well. We're also working a lot on the Great Lake Basin Integrated Plan. Right now, not only do we have the ongoing modeling efforts, but also through the work plan process, we identified a number of kind of gaps in our knowledge, as Layla mentioned, and one of those is on climate. So we have a contract to have some climate modeling that to be done. So that has been started and will continue through 2026. In addition to that, 8 individual projects have been contracted that will help to inform water management decisions in all sorts of different areas, whether it's municipal water conservation, agricultural optimization, a dust study on lakebed dust control and a study on that, groundwater well monitoring, trying to improve our estimates of how much groundwater we're using, and the water requirements for shorebirds, and also an evaporative study on the evaporation on Great Salt Lake. You saw those big numbers, 2.2 million acre feet of evaporation on Great Salt Lake. That's an estimate. And so is there a way we can get better information to improve that? In addition, this last legislative session, there was a $22 million I'll say pot of money provided to water resources to provide grants for water infrastructure projects. So Eric and a team put together an application period. We had an application period. We received 44 applications for over $60 million. We evaluated the application and coordinated with the executive director of DNR, so Director Ferry. We selected 18 applicants to receive grants. The grants range from $300,000 to $4 million. And there was a large variety of projects and studies distributed throughout the state. And so we've provided letters of notification that they're receiving a grant and now working on agreements. So that definitely came to us a little bit differently than normally. The legislature normally appropriates money to the board and then you guys administer. This one was slightly different. And I guess that's the second time they did it because they did it with the aqueduct resiliency grants as well. And then as far as conservation, just wanted to give you an update. I just learned that so for our WaterWise landscaping conversion program, we had a goal of getting 1 million square feet removed in 2023. We actually removed 1.6 million square feet and had over 1,000 participants in FY 2024. So pretty exciting that we were able to surpass our goal there. Right now, 67 cities and counties are now eligible for statewide incentives because they've adopted those water efficiency standards that we talked about earlier. Iron County recently adopted ordinances which will qualify the unincorporated areas for incentives. Tooele City recently completed a project at City Hall as part of the program. And that's looking great. And then just want to shout out to all the water districts and our partners and division staff for running these programs. It's a lot of work and making pretty exciting results. We are working on water conservation plans are being reviewed and the feedback's being provided. The final plans are due to us by December 31st of 2024. And then we continue in our outreach efforts. So just a short update for you, but happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman, just a question for the director. I didn't tune in to the Water Task Force meeting last week. I wondered if there was anything in addition to what you've already presented of interest.
Great question. Thanks, Charles. The big things for us is we are working with the 2 work groups that I mentioned for HB 280 as part of the Water Task Force. So we have the existing fund study and the fee. We also have another work group, 2 other work groups going on. One's currently going on the water infrastructure funding study. So this study will actually be done the end of September, so maybe by the October meeting, if you guys are interested, we could have a summary for you. But that is really looking at that property tax question. Should property taxes be included as part of our water infrastructure funding scheme? And if we choose to not have them, what are the kind of consequences of that? So this is a study that kind of broadly looks at that. So we've had a work group on that. And then we're also developing a work group to help us with our water conservation goal, regional water conservation goals, and how do we define conserved water and those type of things. We had put together some draft rules and got some feedback from the task force a couple of months ago saying we would really like to have a work group to talk about this more. So they had some feedback for us on the rules that we proposed. There was supposed to be a presentation from, or I guess Representative Ray Ward was supposed to talk about a bill on the statewide reporting requirements. He ended up wanting to be pushed till the September meeting. And then we had David Robertson from LRB, who is our consultant on this water infrastructure funding study, provide an update to the task force on that study. So, and we could see if he's available at our October meeting to have him present some of his findings, if you're interested. Okay.
Any other questions? I just have one comment. I know it's often said that Halloween's the scariest day of the year. I think it's when interim shows up, because you never know what scary things you don't understand will jump out at you. Shouldn't repeat that, should we? We don't have anything else scheduled for, is there anything else we need to bring up for board? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn. You have a motion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.